Hi everyone, Jill Hicks here. This is R101 or Recruiting 101. And this video that you purchased is I want to be a confident recruit. This is probably one of the most popular topics that parents have asked me to talk about. So I think it's of super importance, and I think it can be achieved. And I'm really excited to hopefully bring some light to the difficulty of being a confident recruit. All right, so we're going to cover three different things throughout this video that I think are important. One, we're going to talk about why is it important to be a confident recruit. Number two, I'm going to give you some inspiring JH girl stories of girls who had no confidence when they started the process, but ended up finding their fit and doing great and being a great match to where college coaches thoroughly were thrilled to have them on their team. Even though they were maybe shy or quiet or what would be considered a lack of confidence on the outside. And then number three, we're going to do some personal assessments and assignments. So be sure you have a journal with you today. And actually at all of the videos, there are assessments and assignments. So be sure you as the athlete have your journal so you can write in. And as a parent, you can also be taking notes. I'm going to hopefully provide information for both the parent and the athlete throughout all the videos that I offer. All right, so let's get started. So why is confidence important in the college recruiting process? Well, you can imagine it seems pretty obvious to some people that confidence makes a big difference, and I believe it truly does. So number one, the college coaches are usually looking for some kind of confirmation when they're trying to get to know the recruits that they are ready for college or going to be pretty ready, both for there's so much that goes on in their day-to-day when they get to college to try to be an athlete on a team, whether it's travel, workout, academics, and just handling social life. So being a confident recruit, even though they're not going to know everything about you, is going to really give them that confirmation, potentially. Number two, a confident recruit often translates into a great competitor and teammate. So it can have those kind of repercussions too. Number three, recruiting is competitive. So it can give a recruit very much a competitive edge. When she walks in to the office of a college coach day one or for the first time, if she's confident, or in her emails that she writes, or those phone calls that she's going to make. So it is a very, very important topic. But I have good news for you. Nobody feels confident in the recruiting process. Nobody, when they first start. Even the elite gymnasts I have do not feel confident, and rightly so. None of you have ever done this before. Now, parents, you may have gone through it. You may have been an athlete in college or had another child go through the recruiting process. So you're very rare, and that's a small, small percentage. But most people and most athletes have never done this before. So I want you to take a deep breath, relax, and realize you're normal. There is nothing unusual to have a lot of butterflies or feel just overwhelmed by the process in the beginning. All right, so what is confidence built on? I believe two things. I want you to write these in your journal. One is knowledge, and two, experience. All right, so just think about that for a moment. So the reason you might lack confidence is you might not know anything about the college recruiting process, and probably you have no experience in it. So therefore, that's why you're normal. So we need to figure out how we can gain knowledge and have the experience needed to at least start the foundation of feeling more or much better and more confident. All right, so I believe there's two stages of recruiting. The first stage is just, what is recruiting? Most people have no idea. And then the second stage is, once you get the knowledge of what is college recruiting, and you can get that on the NCAA website. They do a great job with videos for parents and for athletes. And then the second stage is, how do we make it work for our own daughter's situation? So there's two real uncomfortable lack of confidence. It's not just recruiting, but it's the beginning, the unknown of even what it's all about. And then two, how to walk through the process with your daughter or you as the athlete once you start the process personally. So we're going to talk through both of those types of stages. And then the other thing to always remember is, at least in gymnastics, there's 3 divisions of gymnastics and college, and they all have different knowledge, different experiences. So whichever division your daughter ends up pursuing, you're going to want to have the knowledge of each of those divisions and pursue it deeply so that you can really help your daughter process. All right, so in your journal, I want you to use some example in your mind that you've gone through in your life where you felt really nervous in the beginning and really confident in the end. All right, so I want you to write down an event right now in your journal. It can be a meet you were in, maybe level 7. It could be something at school, maybe a test you took. Maybe you were really nervous before the test, but in the end, once you took the test, all the things you did to build up to that made you feel confident. It could be maybe you're really good at piano or a musical instrument, and you're in recitals, and you felt really good about one of your recitals. I want you to write down one event in your life where you felt really confident. All right, write that down. Hopefully you have one event. You as a parent, to help you relate, maybe think through a time when you had an interview or something in your life that you've attempted to do and you felt really good about it. So write down that event. And now we're going to break it down and apply it to the recruiting process. All right, so look at your event. If it was a test, if it was a meet, if it was a recital, how did you prepare, or what did you think about what you didn't know before that event? So maybe it was an event like a meet and you'd never been to a meet before, never an optional meet, let's say. Or maybe it were level 5 or 6 and it was your first meet and you've never even been to that meet before, so you didn't know what to expect, so you didn't have confidence. But then what did you do to prepare so that in the end you did? So my guess is you practiced a lot. So did you practice every day? Did you practice 3 times a week for that recital? Was it a test you took at school and you practiced and then you came home and you did your homework? Did you do practice tests? Did you have a good coach? Did you have a good teacher that helped build your confidence? Think about that event. Think about how or why you came out with confidence. And now let's transfer it to recruiting. Okay, so when we think of recruiting, and we know that there's 2 ways to build confidence. It's going to be knowledge and experience. And my guess is, in that one event that you remember back in your life that you had a really good experience, you gained a lot of knowledge and you gained a lot of experience. Well, we're going to do the same thing in the recruiting process. And that's going to be what builds your confidence. All right, so remember that experience that was positive and always bring it up in your head when you get nervous about recruiting and go, well, no wonder I'm nervous. I need to gain knowledge. I need to practice. I need to have a good coach to help me in the recruiting process, or people or friends or other teammates. All those things we're going to talk about. All right, so we've talked about also the fact that I believe to build knowledge in the recruiting process, you have to do research. You have to practice, practice, practice. So here are some key factors in becoming a confident recruit. Number one, decide in the beginning that you're committed to work really hard at recruiting and give it 100%, even though you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And my guess is when you look back on that event that you felt really good about in your past, you didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but you practiced really hard. You may have gotten a really good coach, right? And the outcome ended up good. It's the same with recruiting, okay? And in recruiting, every single girl goes into the process not knowing what the match is going to look like, if there will be one, or how they're going to get there. Nobody knows the end result, okay? So having been doing this for so long, 20 years, I bet if you lined up every single college team, no matter what division they were, and you said to the whole group on the team, like this year, if you lined up every team and you asked every girl, is this the school you thought you'd be at when you finish the recruiting process? My gut feeling tells me, with the experience I have, is they would say, no, this school wasn't even on my list. Or, well, it was on my list, but I really didn't think it was going to be at the end. That's how you have to go into it, not really knowing the end result. And that's okay. So I want you to know that. Number two, I want you to face your fears. All right. So get your journal out and I want you to write down let's basically identify what are some of your fears when you think of the recruiting process. Okay. So write down what some of your fears might be. So some of those fears might be, am I good enough? So if you wrote that one down, you're very normal. Will the coach or the team even like me? I don't know what to say. That's one of my fears. That could be one of yours. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, so I don't know what to do about that. I'm afraid I don't have the skills because I don't know if I have the skills. I don't know what the coach will want. And will I even score high enough to be recruited? Most of the time, those are the fears that my clients talk about. So if those are any of your fears, you're normal, okay? And how could you know? So we have to identify our fears, all right? First, we decide we're going to commit to the process without knowing the outcome. Number two, identify those fears. And I like it when you write them down because when you see them visually on paper, they get smaller. When we don't write them down and we just think about them, they kind of fester and grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger in our heart and in our mind to where we feel these emotions and get overwhelmed. All right. So be sure you've written them down. Number three, I want you to be on the same page as your club coach and your parents. So what I mean by that is you have to have good communication. So you have to want to work hard at this, but you also have to go and talk about it so that you're all on the same page. Because I think when girls start to lack confidence is when they know somebody has a different expectation than they do in the process. So you want to go talk to your club coach, say, I want to be a college gymnast, and these are the schools I want to shoot for. What do you think? They may or may not know, but at least you've told them and it's out on the table. And your parents need to know what you're thinking, right? They might not even know which schools you should shoot for yet because you're going to have to gain knowledge. Everyone involved. And then talk about your fears, get your fears written out. This all will build your confidence in the recruiting process because remember, it's about knowledge and experience. So we're talking about the knowledge part right now. We're gaining knowledge. We're communicating. We're getting it all out. All right. Then the fourth thing that's super important, these are key factors in becoming a confident recruit, is to stay open. So most kids think, I want to start the recruiting process and this is the way I want to go. And that's great. That's not a bad thing. But because, like I said, it usually, the path is very wide when you start the process, and as it narrows, it might surprise you. But if you're not open, then what happens is you have bigger swings in the process. You're swinging really high to try to get to a certain college, and then you have to drop really far down because you've kept a door closed. You haven't been open to all the schools and all the situations that might be out there. So that's number 4. And then number 5, be realistic in your pursuits. So that kind of goes back to making sure everyone's on the same page. Okay, your club coach, your parent, and the athlete. That will build confidence when they know everybody is talking about the same schools, working towards the same schools. All of that is super important to build the confidence in the parent, in the club coach, and the athlete. All right, and remember, we're looking at several things to decide which schools are realistic: your athletics, your academics, and roster sizes, and whether or not you need a scholarship. So all those things you're going to be discussing throughout as you're building your knowledge and experience, all those areas. All right, so we talked about what some of your fears are, and we've written them down, and we've talked about a good experience you've had in the past where you felt really confident. Because I want you to go back to your journal when you start to feel shaky and go, nope, Jill talked about this. I wrote it down. I have an experience in my life where I had to build my confidence and the outcome was great. And I'm going to do the same thing in recruiting. So those are super important. But I also want to give today some practical tips for the parent in the recruiting process, which I think will also help build confidence in your daughters. One, know that your daughter will struggle. And the struggle is actually a good thing because it builds, even though it's hard to watch our daughters struggle, but it will build their confidence in the end. Okay, so when they have to struggle through, how do I make a phone call? What am I going to say? And they have to practice and all of that. It's going to prepare them for college and build their confidence as a person too. So just remember, they all struggle, and that is okay. Number 2, role play with your daughter. I think this really helps build their confidence when they've actually practiced it a few times. And who better to do it with than a parent? Now, I know in the high school years, it's really hard to connect and to get your daughters to talk and do all that. But I think they'll feel good about role playing a little bit because they know that's going to help them through. Now, I've had kids who say, I don't want my mom and dad in here while I'm making phone calls to college coaches. It makes me more nervous. So that's common too. Or other girls who want their mom and dad sitting right by them. And I recommend having those phone conversations on a speakerphone, so everyone can hear what's going on. It's safe. They feel confident. And then they all have a list of questions that they can refer to right by the phone. So they feel much more confident in those moments. I also recommend that parents go on the visits, of course, but be in the background. Also, keep encouraging academics with your daughters because that opens more doors to opportunities on teams. I also recommend that you think about yourself in the recruiting process with your daughter as the support system. Super important. And stay open, open, open. All right, so those are all some tips to the parents. What are some practical tips for you, the recruit, to build your confidence? All right, remember I mentioned those 2 words. We need knowledge to build confidence and experience. So these are some things you can do to build your experience in the recruiting process. 1, go to college meets. Okay, even if it's not a college you want to go to. By going, you're on a college campus. You're watching, even if it's a level you don't think you want to do, you're going to see this is why I have more skills than they do. Or if it's a team that you're going to shoot for, now you know which skills you have to do. You're going to see what it's like to be on a team. You're going to see that, 6 girls compete, but only 5 counts. You're going to have to work hard to make the lineup. You're going to see how the coaches are responding to the girls. So that's going to make you more comfortable knowing, oh, okay, that's the kind of interaction. It's a little different in college than it is in club. You're going to see what it's going to take, basically. All those things give your daughter or you, the athlete, the experience. And with knowledge and experience, you will have more confidence. All right? So that's super important. And like I said, having some tips for you as the recruit: have questions with you on your recruiting trips, have questions by the phone when you're making your phone calls. It's totally awesome. I used to love when girls would walk in my office with a list of questions because it told me they were thinking. It didn't tell me that they didn't lack confidence because they had to have their questions written down. It told me that they had thought through, that they didn't want to forget certain questions because they really wanted to be at my college, my team, and they want to be sure to get their questions answered. So bring those questions. Plus, it helps you when you draw a blank and you're not sure, when they say, so do you have any questions? And now you have your list and you pull it out. Let's see. Also, role playing, like I said, with your parent can be really helpful. So I encourage that to you as the athlete as well. All right. So now I'm going to share with you a few JH Consulting client stories. 2 of them that I just really love are both shy girls. One is Sonia Mraz at UCLA, and the other one is an athlete who just committed to University of Illinois, and her name is Olivia O'Donnell. And both these girls were really, really super shy. The first time I met them, they did not say one word. And they completely lacked confidence in the recruiting process, from what I could tell. But by the end, we were having sessions alone, like Olivia and I, and parents didn't even attend because she was so confident in what she was doing. So let's start with Sonia, and just let me give you a little example there. Sonia wanted to go to UCLA, and her dad had gone there, her grandfather, and that was her dream school. She had offers to other schools. And to be honest, I didn't think necessarily it was going to be the right match. So we met, we talked about it. She went and had a visit, and the coach absolutely fell in love with her. She became the glue of that team. And for those of you who know, she competed all around for several years. She earned a 1-year scholarship. And Val told me that, she was voted Athlete of the Year. And they have Olympians on their team. And I've been to a lot of things with UCLA because Val and I are so close. She is not the gregarious gymnast on the team. She speaks when she has something to say, and the girls listen. And like I said, she became the glue of the team. So you can be shy and still have confidence. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then with Olivia, same thing. We started out super shy, hardly talked, parents talked more. And as she grew and matured through those years, because often, I will get my clients before high school or 9th grade, they're going to do a whole lot of maturing through those years. They're going to do a lot of struggling. They're going to do a lot of growing up and figuring out who they are. And we're going to talk about that in just a sec, because I think it's super important. And I really saw that with Olivia. She gained more confidence just as each year progressed. But by the end, she went on all these visits. All these Division I schools really wanted her, and she ended up picking University of Illinois. And like I said, all our meetings at the end, the last year, it was just Olivia and I, because she was managing her recruiting process just beautifully. So she gained the knowledge, she got the experience, she didn't panic, she stayed open in the process, and it all came together in the end. All right. Get your journals back out. We're going to do an assessment here and a little assignment. because here's another piece that I think really builds confidence in the recruiting process. And that is being confident in who you are without gymnastics. All right, so this topic doesn't get talked about all that much. Not at gym, probably not at school, but I think it's super important. So I want you to make a big circle in your journal, and I want you to put your name in the middle. Okay, and so it's going to look something like that. And then I want you to write around the circle on the outside. I want you to write, who are you without gymnastics? So you can't put gymnastics. So you've got your name in the middle. That's, you're basically just, there you are in the middle. And then these are all the things that you are around without the sport of gymnastics. So here's some examples. Are you a sister? Are you a daughter? Are you a friend? Are you an aunt? What are you without gymnastics? And I think it'll surprise you that I really believe a lot of reason girls don't have confidence is they've never thought about this, because they go to the gym so much at such a young age that all they imagine is them focus on as a gymnast. And then they start the recruiting process and they feel like, I don't know if I'm good enough. And everything becomes about gymnastics. But when you start to look at this visual and you realize that you are way more, I didn't have time to write my stuff down, but way more than a gymnast, you're going to be able to sit in those meetings with those college coaches with confidence. Because it's not all about whether or not they choose you. You have so many things that you are. Recruiting becomes stressful and uncomfortable and overwhelming when it becomes the whole focus. And the girls that I see that do really well with the recruiting process are not only just focused on getting recruited. They realize that they're a sister, like I said, a friend, an aunt, a daughter. They're all kinds of things that have nothing to do with gymnastics. So it doesn't become the focus or the end all. And I think that's really important in building confidence. All right. So flip the page. Now I want you to write. Now these can be challenging and you don't have to show anyone. And if mom and dad are sitting with you and you're watching this video, just write this in your journal. You don't have to talk about it. I want you to write out 3 of your strengths. Okay. It could have to do with gymnastics if you want, but it'd be great if it didn't. So if you are, like I said, really good at playing an instrument, or you're really good at math, or you're really good at being a friend, or whatever your strengths are. So for me, some of my strengths might be, I always felt I was good at teaching because I wanted to teach. I like teaching. So I'm pretty comfortable in front of people and talking. Now, I haven't always been, but I could tell that's sort of one of my strengths naturally. That's what I want you to write down. Anything naturally that you're comfortable with. All right, 3 strengths about yourself. All right, next, I want you to write out what is one positive trait that your best friend would say about you. So it could be a lot of things, that you're fun or funny or positive or helpful or creative. So what is one thing that you think your friend would say, your best friend, about you? Okay. And And then lastly, I want you to write down what you, if you know, what would you like to study or what would you like to become after college? Now I want you to look at all those items and realize that you are so much more than being a gymnast. You have so many qualities. And I believe once you have the knowledge of the recruiting process and you gain some experience by practicing, by going to meets, by learning, and then you know who you are without gymnastics, you're going to be an extremely confident recruit. So, and the biggest part of this is that I want you to remember, with or without becoming a recruit at a college, you probably are going to go to college, you're probably going to graduate, and you're probably going to move on in your life. And so don't make recruiting 100% on your mind. Make it a part of what you do and what you work at and what you work towards, just like gymnastics, but don't make it the whole thing. Because really, in the end, it will be done, it will be over someday, and you have all these qualities that you're going to take with you in life. And I believe that all those things are going to make you a very confident recruit. No matter if you do Division 1, 2, or 3, it's super important that you enjoy what you're doing. While you go through the process, you need to have fun and you need to give it 100%. And however that outcome comes out is how it comes out. And I think all those things are going to make you a very, very confident recruit. So I so hope that you can apply some of these things. I want you to look back in your journal and see all those amazing areas that you wrote down about yourself and that one experience that you've already had in your life that was really positive, and just pump yourself up to feeling good about it when you have those days where you feel like it's taking really long or you're not sure. Just remember you're not alone, and that Jill told you that everyone feels that uncomfortableness. Even the elite gymnasts I have do not feel confident in the recruiting process. So I know you can do it, and stay positive and just keep taking, like I said, those baby steps, one step forward at a time. And I'm sure it will all come together. Thanks for joining me here at R101. And if there's any other topics that you're interested in, just let me know, and I'll be putting quite a few more out there.